In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still bad.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight. Sitting across from me is the one and only Cash Kraus. Cash, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing? I put a lot of emphasis on that. Put a lot of emphasis at a dramatic pause in there.
We always have such a smooth intro.
We do.
To the show.
We still have no idea how to start the show.
No, we don't. 340-something episodes.
It's always awkward. It's always weird. And then never gets better.
It doesn't.
It doesn't get better. Maybe by old 500.
Maybe we'll have it figured out.
We'll have, yeah.
You know, that's what we like to do.
We're looking forward
here.
to that. Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, today is a newish movie Monday.
Newish movie Monday. We will title it
That's our new
Newish.
day. Newish movie Monday. Because there's not a lot of new movies coming out. We always talk about that, but there really isn't.
No. There was a movie that just released with Sarah Paulson that we might want to check out for next Monday called Run. She was dropped on Hulu.
Yeah, I've not heard of that, but the new Wonder Woman, though, is being released
on Christmas Day.
That's big news.
Well, that's more of our movie news segment, but since
I don't even know we're going to have
three
one
times a year.
I really don't know if it's going to make the cut.
No, it probably won't.
I really don't know, but that's big news.
That's huge news.
That's huge news. We haven't even talked about that, but that's going to be
I am stoked for that.
The balls for DC to do that. Congrats to them. That's very, very smart because Marvel... They're not fucking.
No, they will hold on to that film for 5 years before
their main character will have died off. The actor will have died off for years, and we will be watching and going, I forgot he was in this.
I forgot. Was this made 15 years ago? Yeah. I'm confused here.
So that's very Marvel. Look at New Mutants. That's a big fucking shitstorm, and they still wouldn't release it.
Yep. So to be fair, that was under the Fox, but then Disney had it for like 2-3 years.
Well, yeah, and they're the ones that say don't
and they still didn't release it.
So, so good for DC. That's going to be fucking awesome.
That'll be great.
And maybe they're thinking Oscar. You know, maybe they're getting it in there. They're thinking there's not a lot of shit out there right now.
You scratch our back, we scratch your back, exactly. You know?
I love the first Wonder Woman. I fucking loved it.
It was awesome.
So I'm pumped for this one. But that will definitely have to be a new movie Monday.
Oh, for sure.
It's the only movie that came out that we were going to be able
especially
to see.
On Christmas Day.
But crazy, you're going to be able to see that HBO Max for free.
For free. No, you don't have to pay $30 like Disney Plus for Mulan that I refuse to see.
We're already down, Disney.
Right.
It's 2020.
Don't kick us while we're down.
Put salt in the wound.
Just make us
Here's
spend
a
our
shitty
whole
movie that you already
check on a fucking film, you know?
Speaking of that, man, thank God we got that stimulus check 8 months ago.
Thank God.
Because I'm just barely skirting by it. And if I had not had that.
Exactly.
I'd be done for.
You know, I got to be honest. I budgeted appropriately for that stimulus check.
You used $2 a day.
Exactly. And I budgeted out for about $120 a month.
Okay.
You know, for losing, work and everything.
Next month you're going to be hurting, though.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
Because it's running out. It's running low right now.
And unfortunately for me, I didn't reinvest, in Pfizer or something like that.
Well, no, you had to pay, bills for food.
Right, I had to actually, feed myself, which I'm being fed well. You can tell, at least starvation is not
no other part of your family got that $1,200. That all went to you.
It did.
But, so maybe another 8 months, we'll get another one of those.
Maybe.
And I'll finally be able to afford Mulan.
That'd be great.
I'll finally be able to see Mulan.
Maybe we'll splurge a little bit for $15-$30.
We're going to have to get 9 other people to split it, though. Because it's tough times.
Times are tough.
It's tough
times are very tough.
But let's get back to our subject matter. It's a newish movie Monday because this movie came out in 2018 and it is a sci-fi film, a little indie sci-fi film.
It is, and I want to ask you this because this is one of my favorite YouTube channels around.
Yeah,
Dust.
I was freaking out. I wasn't sure if you were even gonna know, but when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, dude, they're making actual fucking real movies now.
I'm so glad they are, because they're short films, dude.
Incredible.
Sci-fi films, incredible. Phenomenal. Their podcast too. Go check out their podcast. It's a shameless plug for them. But
and the YouTube channel too.
Right. But
they are great.
They are really good. And I think good filmmakers should be shouted out. I think we should talk about them. But their podcast is just short stories. But they do sound effects and everything for the short stories. It's really
They're
cool
really getting in there. Yeah, they're really getting in there with every kind of aspect. Their YouTube channel is phenomenal. I mean, the quality of those short films are incredible. And it's just good. They're not spending a lot of money, but they're just getting the right people to work on it. And that's exactly like our film today, Prospect, it's fucking beautiful. I mean, it's really
especially for how many limitations they had while filming this.
Yeah, and it doesn't even show the budget.
It's estimated about only $3.5 million.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. The film is good, but just the quality of the cinematography and the world building, it looks amazing. I can't believe it. But yeah, Dust, if you haven't checked them out, go and check their shit out.
Absolutely.
After you watch this.
Yeah, right. Finish this video and then go watch Dust.
But yeah, this was actually a short film turned into a full-length feature.
It was initially a 15-minute short film.
Yeah, and the film is Prospect, by the way. We've been talking about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah, we should probably jump into the title name.
Yes, the film is Prospect, directed by two different guys, Zeke Earl and Chris Caldwell.
Zeke Earl never had a feature film.
Only
4 or 5 short films.
Both met at the University of Seattle.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were both writers there, and they filmed this entire thing at the Hoy Rainforest in
Washington State,
which you can, if you've ever been there, you can kind of tell. It's everything looks very, it's like the only rainforest in the United States, so it's very moist and wet, but a lot of moss and shit. It looks like any fucking Washington forest,
Northwest forest.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought that was pretty cool. Anytime anything is within the area, it's kind of cool.
It is cool. Yeah. Especially knowing Pedro Pascal had a little pass by in Washington.
Which is crazy. It's hard to watch
Mando
anything.
Himself.
It's hard to watch anything with him these days without just thinking of Mando. You hear that voice.
Or the child.
Yeah. Exactly. You hear that voice and you immediately think, because he's became synonymous with it now. You know, you think Mandalorian, you think Pedro Pascal.
It is the only and greatest thing Disney's ever done with Star Wars.
It's hard.
Show.
Yeah, it's really hard for like the first 15 minutes to kind of get that out of my mind and think, okay, this guy's not playing a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Although
especially
it is
in a sci-fi film.
I know, and usually you want to distance yourself, but I guess this did come out in 2018, so it was before he got, taken over by that. Yeah. But let's talk about him for a little bit.
Okay.
He's great. He's fucking awesome. He plays like this smooth talking kind of con man space guy. He's he almost has like he comes from like a Louisiana planet or something like it almost like a southern draw, and all of his lines are very eloquent and very he's just a very smart, quick talking guy. Kind of surprised me the role he played in this. I thought he was playing the father just by seeing the trailer.
Right,
I thought he
that's
was
what
the father.
I thought too.
So when I first saw what's his name, Jay Duplass, who he's a writer with his brother and does a bunch of indie stuff, but I was surprised. I'm like, well, when does Pedro come in here? Then you hear that voice, and then you immediately know that he plays kind of a bad guy in this. Yeah. He's great as a bad guy.
And do you know that's actually what sold him on this film was the dialogue.
Yeah.
He looked at the script and he said how eloquent his dialogue was and how the character was so smart. He goes, that's what made him want to take part in this project.
He is.
It's pretty cool.
He's pretty smart, but he's great in it. And the girl, Sophie Thatcher, is really fucking good in this too. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's very good.
And I guess it was hard to shoot this because they had to go by child label artists. Yeah. That's why you got to get twins.
9.5 hours. Well, that's the way to do it. You got to go out there and get some
little Hollywood
twins.
freak shows. Now you get triplets. You can work 24
hours days. Yeah, absolutely. You're just rotating them in. Yeah. You'll have the film done like an LJP film.
Okay, wake up.
11 days.
Wake up number 3. He's fucking. He's ready.
He's on set. He's supposed to be in wardrobe.
And then he comes out of the cryo chamber, and then the other one goes back into hypersleep. until they're ready to be used, and that's the only time they get to come out. But yeah, the twins is a
they got to get their
thing.
school hours on set too. That's a big thing. They actually have to
school hours. You
wake
just
up from the cryo chamber
for 1 hour.
I don't know if
teacher
I've ever told
half-asses
this.
it.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever told this on the podcast, but when we were filming Benchwarmers, we had to log in our school hours, right? Which we did actually do this, but one of them was they just sent all the kids to a zoo. I'm serious. It was the greatest thing ever. We all went to a zoo.
How did it work? Because you're all in different grades, aren't you?
It doesn't.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, they're not thinking about that at all. Like, there's 4th graders to 8th graders.
But the way the teacher would do it is they would probably grade it off the grade. But anyway, all we had to do
it's
was go to the
half-assed,
zoo and write, an essay
I think
on
you
what
have
we
to
learned.
worry about that, yeah.
Yeah. So we literally just I wrote like a 2-page essay, double spaced on gorillas and
double
apes,
space it.
and that was it, man. That's all I had to do. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a good day. It's definitely a good day. And you get to go to the zoo.
Yeah, but they do have to do that, which sucks because that is part of your 9.5 hours. But you're able to log that, outside of it. But they still pay you for it.
Oh, yeah. You got to
pay for all those school hours. It's crazy.
But, that's an interesting job. The teacher of that was someone that just does that, where you're just, because I think it's a tough job. Because these kids probably do not give a fuck.
No.
Most of them they're child actors. They're like, I'm not going to need this fucking, because actors, they're dumbasses anyways. they're all they need to do is read lines.
They're not Einsteins.
For the most part, not very intelligent.
They get emotional on cue. But as far as intellectual thinking, might be a little bit
still get a lot of sociopaths.
Right,
And you don't got to be a genius to do it.
No, you do not.
But, so I really think they're probably just going in there half-assing it, and just hopefully these kids get some sort of
learning. Yeah,
going to the zoo, they probably learn more than they've ever had.
No, it was
in a
it was fun. We all just hung out and just whatever.
But go back to Prospect. She's really great. She is. She shows it's this weird kind of thing where probably my only fault is probably the writing with the characters. I love the world building. I love the entire premise of, like, they're so far advanced or whatever, but the costume design also is fucking great.
Awesome.
It's like 70s kind of astronaut futuristic kind of thing. Everything looks kind of retro. It's still like analog buttons, and they're putting tapes in at one point, shit like that. But it's kind of like this old school kind of futuristic.
Well, the filmmakers actually hired an art collective of carpenters, industrial designers, mechanics, and cosplayers to create all the handmade costumes and props for this film.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
But it all looked really good. The guns are really cool. They're kind of this old style. Where everything else kind of looks like 70s retro, the guns are like flintlock retro. Yeah. They're like made out of like PVC pipe, but they're very like old school kind of long. Like the gun she has, they call them throwers. But it's one shot. She's carrying around a fucking musket.
One shot, and then you gotta like freaking. What are those things called?
It's like the Y2K radios that you the Jack in the Box?
Jack in the Box, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, you gotta like recharge them. But not a great gun. I mean, you're going on an alien planet.
You want a few,
and not even that, but they
rounds.
hint at that there's like this war or something that took place. He's got one fucking
and other
gun.
People mining for these
not even that, but you have these like, I don't even know. It never describes it. It's just a part of the really cool world building. That's one thing, is you can tell everything was so thought out behind, like them having to get back to the space station for like the last, what do they call it? Like the jump or something like that?
The sling. Something with the sling.
Yeah, the sling back.
Slingback, yeah.
Yeah, they got to get you back in time. And it never really explains it, but you just kind of know what they're hinting at. It's like the pods drop down, and then the ship has to go full 360 around.
Which I won't bring it up here, but they literally broke down that, like the writers. Yeah. They broke down what a slingback was. It's like a paragraph long of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Everything is very thought out. You can definitely tell. It's very everything about that, about how how the suits work and everything. And again, it's very futuristic, but it's very retro too. Like Pedro Pascal, at one point, his filter breaks, so he's got to tether himself to another person's filter.
Hers.
It's like you think the technology would be so advanced by now. One, they would have
You
more
would
than
think.
one filter.
Yeah, hopefully.
Or an
Hopefully you got a
ease.
few backups,
Yeah,
you know.
You're bringing one down? It's wild.
One breaks and what are you going to do? Repair it?
Well, you got to tether yourself to your like 8-foot giant bodyguard or whatever the fuck that guy was. It doesn't
Yeah, the
explain
silent
what
guy,
that.
no.
I don't think he was human. I mean, I think
probably
he was like
wasn't.
a kind of robot, but he was fucking huge, and his suit was like one of those old school diving suits.
Yes,
you
it
know
was.
what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The ones
With the
that
giant
deep
helmets.
diving. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was fucking awesome, and he carried around a rail gun too, which
That's
is
a big
super
gun.
cool.
It's a real big
He
gun.
blew, unfortunately,
Blasted her father away.
very upset. Yeah, and
And then Pedro
I love
Pascal
the part
walks up to him a few times.
because you can just hear the dad go, "Oh, he's so fucked up." But the character of Sophie's character though is very interesting to where she didn't really care for her dad that much.
No, that was
was-
something I wanted to bring up because
Yes.
she seemed pretty.
I love
she
that
was like,
kind of
yeah,
writing.
You kill my dad, but she was like, okay, my dad was kind of an asshole.
Well, Doug,
anyway.
he was a druggie.
He was a druggie,
and he
and Pedro had alluded to multiple times that he kind of just used her as like just essentially an assistant. The whole time.
steady hand.
Yeah.
because he was off his fucking. He was taking.
rocker.
He was taking eye drops or something that made him
Like
all kinds of
Chewies.
high.
Yeah, that just
Kinda like
all day
cocaine
long.
gum that kind of had to wake him up. And so his hands were a little shaky, and they were doing very, precise work where they had to cut open and I love that too, the practical effects of cutting open this.
When even the process of it too,
Yeah, that was
know, was
very
very
detailed,
cool.
and
Yeah.
with mixing the chemicals and shit like that.
cutting
Super
it out,
cool.
cutting it, dissecting
Love
it,
that,
and then
yeah.
not cutting to the whatever point, the bone part, because then it'll all just
Just
fizzle.
melt, yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was really cool. Yeah, well thought out too. I loved also there was like when they drop down, there's like this filter of like grainy dust that thing kind of thing. I'll bring it up because I always bring it up, but it kind of looks like Annihilation. You know, Annihilation where it looked like you were looking through a prism and you had all like these fractals of light and whatnot. I think everyone's kind of doing that now after Annihilation, but this one looked exactly the same. And there's this weird. It looks familiar, but there's something about it that looks off where it's not Earth.
So it was actually a practical effect that they used. It wasn't CGI. It was called, it's what's known as basement dust. So they would use the basement dust, and then in post, they just layered it.
Yeah, in the old days, they would have just used asbestos. They would have
Which would
thrown.
have been very unhealthy for the cast and crew.
And there's lots of movies where in the black and white, it was just easier for snow to be used as asbestos. And they would sell asbestos by the box that you could throw. You used to be able to buy asbestos for your Christmas tree, where you could sprinkle asbestos around your Christmas tree. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, in the old days, they would have straight up just thrown asbestos, and every one of these people would have got cancer 20 years later.
Probably, yeah.
So I'm glad that the basement dust doesn't sound great.
No?
I wish they almost called something different.
Yeah. Just be like movie dust or something, you know?
Movie dust sounds like a little magic.
Yeah, it does.
Now
Is
that's
that
gonna get
stuff
you
white?
cancer.
Is that movie dust white?
Yeah.
It
I
got
think
maybe
the
a
director
small
was on a little bit of that
yellowish-
movie dust.
He was.
But yeah, basement dust, I wish they'd call it something else.
Right.
Like it's something.
A weird
yeah.
name.
But it's a very cool looking movie and trick.
It
Because
is.
again, it makes it look alien, where there's this weird graininess, and you got to give this props to this film for taking the risk of almost every one of these people is wearing a helmet the entire film.
Yep.
You do not see that very often, especially when you have someone like Pedro Pascal, who's at this point is becoming more and more recognized, and he's fucking Pedro Pascal. He's pretty handsome.
Yeah, he is handsome.
So if this was a big studio film, they'd want those fucking helmets off. You don't want to ever crowd the star's face or anything like that. So you would make. So I love that they took the risk and kept, because you got to keep the helmets on. It's pretty essential. I thought for sure the first thing they were going to do when they landed would be like, okay, check the atmosphere. And be like, boop, boop, boop. And they'd be like, oh, it's good. And they'd immediately take it off.
their helmets
That's
off
what
and
happens in every fucking, that's what happens in the new Alien film.
It does. Yeah.
They don't check the air. They
It's good.
crazy. So
Fascinatingly enough, though, with you're talking about having the helmets on the whole time, there was hardly any ADR post-production for this. All the audio that you hear from inside the helmet was actually recorded on set, which is pretty astonishing.
And all their helmets kind of look different too. Well, the father and daughters look similar, but Pedro Pascal's is like, it's like half tarp, and it's like a huge like fishbowl helmet and whatnot. And the whole time his face is kind of pressed up against it and stuff. It's a cool look for sure. It's awesome, but not the best suits. At all.
No.
One hole.
Figure technology by then would have got a little better as far as the suits are concerned.
Yeah, one hole in your fucking suit
done.
and that
You're
you got
infected.
spores going through the air and shit. It's immediately.
Well, I mean, he did have to amputate his arm in only a matter of hours.
Can we talk about that? Because I fucking loved that scene. Again, the coldness that Sophia Thatcher's character like portrays is fucking. It's really good. Yeah. Because at this point, she's like, you get the sense that she hasn't been with anyone but her dad for a really long time. Hated her dad.
Not really a fan of him.
But she's at this point, she's kind of just completely withdrawn. She's ready to die multiple times. Like when she ambushes them and, she shoots her one shot with the fucking musket. She's ready to go. She's ready to die right there. So she really has zero fucking fear. She shows it when she chops his arm off.
And I think we get a big sense of C, the character too, because we realize as she's cutting off the arm, as you said, there is no emotion there. It's nothing. So obviously she's been in these situations before.
Yes.
That is at least what I got from it. Or she's comfortable enough in these crazy scenarios.
Well, I just think after years of seeing your dad, just take probably a pretty hardcore drug. It'd be like seeing your dad take meth every day.
Right.
You grow this kind of callous of this numbness of all kind of these, which is it's very sad, and it's sad in the movie. And Pedro Pascal is kind of the entire time he's kind of put off by this girl, and it's you can tell that he thinks for sure that there's something wrong with this chick for sure.
Oh yeah.
The way that she can just slice through my arm like it's nothing.
Like nothing, yeah.
But man, I love that. I love the tool that they use. What is it? 2 for skin, 3 for bone. You got to click it 3 times. And then I don't know why you don't start on the bone one.
I don't know.
Seemed like it'd make everything a little easier.
Yeah.
But man, that was a really fucking good scene. It
was.
Brutal.
Another thing we can talk about too, because we are in an age of the COVID-19 and not being able to film, like this movie would have been a great film to make now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like the cast of this was, besides Pedro, Sophie, and Jay Duplass, yeah, you had a few mercenaries sprinkled in there, but other than that, it was really just them.
Well, the big one was and it's a famous guy played it, but was the tribal people they meet.
Yes.
Remember, that's
right.
the biggest scene where they tried to buy the girl
with the gems,
which was a big kind of twist because you're like, these people are going to help. They're fucking cool. Yeah. They're going to give them, remember, the juice.
But then it was like that long-haired kid was just like needing someone to breed with, essentially. And then you start realizing,
well, they're like, yeah, mom's not doing so well, and they pan over and she's been dead like a week. she's like
clearly not moving.
Flies. They're like, yeah, I don't think she's going to make it.
She's not going to pull through this one. Yeah. Not this.
And
time.
we're going to need her to have about 8 more kids, so she
we need to repopulate this village here.
But I love that too because you feel there's so much history behind that tribe and whatnot, and they kind
of the fact that they're still on that planet for whatever reason.
Yeah, even after this big event happened or whatever, it was like I can't remember what it was. It was like a gold rush or something.
Yeah, it was
of this planet, and they came down and people were fighting each other and everything.
When they alluded to that,
everything
in the first act, when they're coming across corpses of former people who were like mining for the gems.
Yeah, and you have no idea how long they've been there. No. It looks really fucking old, but yeah, so there's still this tribal group or whatever. But yeah, besides that, not a lot of people in there. But yeah, it must have been probably pretty easy. The mercenary scenes I enjoyed, but it's the story. This film is really good, how it's shot and everything, but the story I feel kind of lags at some points. The mercenary scene, I enjoyed kind of the firefight after, but the scene where just getting there, it takes a very long time, even to the point where Pedro Pascal, he's doing everything with one arm now.
Yeah.
And he's got to do the thing, and he fucks up like 9 of them.
He does.
He fucks up, and
those were the biggest ones we saw throughout the film too. So there were some big gems.
Oh, it was what was it called? The Queen's Lair.
The Queen's Lair. Yeah.
Yeah, the Queen's Lair, and the whole scene of them having to try to get back to the sling back with the mercenaries and whatnot, and they're just like, no, no, it's not happening. We're not fucking bringing you. Was a horrible plan. I mean, they had no other choice, but man, it's shitty when you can't afford your own ship. Because you got to go in the pod, and the pod seems like it's not an exact science. No. You got to kind of do the timing right. Yeah. It's very difficult.
It is it's a craft.
And Pedro Pascal, they don't even kind of explain, but who knows how the fuck he got down there. I mean, he had no way to get out. He's been living there because he never tells, but you get the sense he's been there a very long time.
Right.
Because he's very happy to see people. Because he hasn't spoke. He's only been with that fucking weird robot guy. I got a feeling he's not much of a conversationalist.
No, probably not. Probably not a guy you can start a podcast with on a planet.
But man, if they did, what a hit.
You
got not a lot of competition.
No.
Unless the tribal people are setting something up, not a lot of competition.
I highly doubt it. I think they'd be more willing to listen, though.
Yeah, possibly. You know? Well, I don't know. They didn't seem too open-minded.
Too friendly? Yeah, no.
But, I thought the ending was just kind of meh. But because they have to get really lucky towards the end.
Which they
do, of course. Yeah, they get extremely lucky that none of the mercenaries can.
I don't know if Pedro Pascal. I don't know if Ezra is too lucky because he's got a decapitated arm and he's not looking too good.
He was never going to make it. Yeah, and he had all kinds of infections going on already.
But how sweet was it of C to come back? I mean, she could have hypothetically just bailed on.
Yeah, she should have.
She should have.
Well, that was kind of the only moment where like, oh, now she kind of has some kind of human element to her.
Right.
Where the entire time, 45 minutes ago, she would have left his body. She was trying to kill him most of the part.
She was. Yeah, most of the film. Yeah. And
not very proficient at it.
No, not a great shot. Didn't have a lot of work with
the one twist I really enjoyed was that they foreshadowed early that she was kind of learning how to do the process of getting these gems out of the fucking. So you think
she was going to? You're right, because I noticed that too, and then I was like,
you think, oh god, this is gonna work out.
She's gonna do it,
and then
it's gonna work.
It just from there it falls apart. The main guy comes up, he's like, this is bullshit. I've been here for an hour. You haven't done anything.
Where the fuck are our gems?
And then they kind of have to kill him, and then
because he's radioing in,
but then
he's gonna execute
another guy comes in. They be like, whoa, he slipped. Remember, they're like, he tripped. He got a little too.
His Achilles is sliced up. They're like, we're not buying
that's my fault in it. Is like it's just there was no plan. I get they were kind of scrambling, but as soon as they saw that other guy come, they should have jumped him. Yeah, they shouldn't have tried to like, whoa, this is wild.
Oh, hey, an accident. No one's buying that, pal.
No, not at all. No. But overall, it's a great looking sci-fi film, and it's better than most of the sci-fi films you get, and it's shot for 1/100th of most sci-fi films. Mm-hmm. I mean, compare this to
it's so impressive that they shot this for $3.9 million.
The camera work, the cinematography, the score is fucking great. Yep. Everything, and the writing about the story building and stuff is super cool. I kind of want to see another like completely different movie, but just still in this universe. To see expand. I want to know how this universe kind of became.
Zeke Earl, the director of this, was also the cinematographer of it as well.
I can imagine. I think they only had like 5 people working.
Probably. It was probably a very small crew.
Yeah, because it's 2 directors split between them, and usually that's like one guy's doing like the score, and he's also kind of doing directing too, and then so you kind of
wearing multiple hats is what they call it. Yeah.
But it's still impressive.
It is
for your first ever too.
It was a great film. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like especially for your first feature film, like this is why I get so excited with companies like Dust. We've seen A24 take the reins throughout the years.
Yeah,
the last 5 or 6 years. Hopefully, Dust can become one of those production companies that just put out consistently awesome sci-fi films.
Yeah, it would be cool, films, but it's just the only thing you worry about. As soon as a company gets big, they get bought out and it gets fucking ruined. And then that guy that started Dust, now he's got to go back and open up another studio, and that studio becomes good. But so that's the only problem. I want them to stay small right now because it's just what they can do for a reported $3 million. Yeah. The space scenes looked incredible.
They did.
I mean, that just amazes me that they can do that for. No one must have got paid on this. Pedro Pascal must have just had a tax write-off or something.
Probably, yeah.
He must have done this for charity. There's no way that they fucking could pay anyone.
No, I mean, they probably paid him, decent, but nothing obviously
They
extraordinary.
probably pay him food.
Yeah, food and
Meals, but-
minimum wage. He's like, I don't work for minimum.
You gotta think a movie with this high of film quality that every cent just went into like that visual aspect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
You know, this costume, the design, everything looked good.
it did.
I'd recommend it. Would you recommend it, Mason?
Strongly recommend this. I had a lot of fun with this one, and again, too, it's something that I love about these films is 97 minutes, an hour and 37 minutes.
It does not overstay
drag
its welcome.
on.
Yeah, it does not overstay its welcome.
Nope.
But yeah, totally worth it. And a film I knew nothing about, which is kind of nice. Going into it completely blind.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, that is our review for Prospect. If you guys like what you've seen here, please be sure to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. If you'd like to find our podcast in audio format, you can find that on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Social media pages, Have You Seen It Podcast. And if you guys want to get some Have You Seen It merch, you can find that link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Krause, and until next time.
And bye.